Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Award to the Wise podcast. It's your host, Jummie Moses, and thank you so much for tuning in. Now, normally this would be a hashtag Keep It Wise segment where I give advice to a listener that has written in, but because Thanksgiving is around the corner, I was like, you know what? I want to switch gears a little bit and focus on gratitude, talking about the things that I've been grateful for in this past year and, just taking some time to reflect and pause because Thanksgiving is not just about stuffing our face till we can't breathe. We're definitely still going to do that, but we also need to take time to pause and reflect on all of the things that we've been grateful for thus far this year, and just sitting in a moment of gratitude because obviously it grounds us, it keeps us in the present, it gives us a moment of peace because we're like, you know what, everything's gonna be okay. Life is not that bad when you think about all of the things that you are super happy for. Now, some of the things that we're happy for are obvious, right? At least let me speak for myself. Some of the things that I'm happy for are pretty obvious, right? I'm happy for my friends. I'm happy for my family, the people who I come across on a day to day basis, my coworkers. I'm super grateful for all of those people, and they mean a lot to me. And I do not take any of them for granted. But I think that in this episode, I want to switch gears a little bit, right? I want to come at it from a different angle, and I want to talk about the strangers that we come across on a day to day basis, not on a day to day basis necessarily, but strangers that we come across throughout the week, months, or years that have made an impact on us just from their random act of kindness or love that they've showed us. Because I think that gets talked about, but not enough, right? Because I like to focus on it because I think about how in that moment, how they made me feel, and it makes me want to pay it forward. So as I'm talking about the little moments that I noticed throughout the year that I was like, wow, that's so random, but also so kind, and I feel so good. I want you to think about those moments for yourself as well. What are some of the moments where you came across a stranger and they did something super nice for you? It was super random, or you had a wonderful conversation with them, right? Where you're just like, wow, that was a bomb conversation. And I needed that. I want you to reflect on those moments and just sit with how they made you feel. Because when I sit with how these strangers made me feel, it makes me want to pay it forward in the world. It makes me want to be a little bit more patient with people. It makes me want to be kinder to people. It makes me want to smile more at strangers because we live in a world sometimes where it's like, do we have faith in humanity? Like, can we can we really trust ourselves? Because everybody just seems so mean, so self-centered, nobody cares. Like that is the vibe sometimes. But when I have these moments with strangers that are just again so kind, so loving, and they just feel so good, I'm like, wow, this kind of reignites my faith in humanity. And it makes me also realize that this is actually the norm. What we see on social media and on the news about people just being super violent and being so mean to each other, that's kind of abnormal. That's the abnormal stuff, but we tend to focus on it a lot more because it's constantly in our faces. So, again, the reason why I'm bringing up this topic about being grateful for the strangers that you come across is so that you can remember that there's more good in the world than bad. Like, yeah, life is about balance. So, of course, you're going to have good and bad. But this is a time to really take inventory about all of the ways that you've seen just love and pure kindness from people that you don't know. Because I don't know about you, but that stuff really, really stays with me. And, when you are naturally a kind person in this world, sometimes it's hard to be in this world because, you don't want to be taken for granted. You might feel weird because your default setting is just to be kind and loving. So when you come across people who are just kind and loving without you having to do anything for it, it feels really good. It feels amazing, and it's very transformative. It makes you look at the world again differently. It makes you look at your situation differently, And that smile alone does so much for your mental health, you know? So, again, just take the time to reflect on all the little ways, all the little things, little exchanges that you've had with strangers that have been small but profound. So sit back and relax. I have a couple stories for you guys talking about some of the highlights that I've had with strangers or people that I don't know too well this year that have made an impact on me. Okay, so one of the moments I'm super thankful for is this moment that I had with an Uber Eats delivery guy. So I don't remember what month it was, but I think it was in the summer, maybe July, August, and my sister had come to visit me. So we were in the living room, we were hungry, and we were like, you know what, let's order some food because we didn't feel like cooking. So we ordered some food, and if you've ordered Uber Eats before, they let you know when the person delivers the food to your front door. So I get a notification that the food had been delivered. But at the moment, me and my sister, we were doing something on the computer, and I didn't go to the door right away. Now, was that Russian roulette? Somebody could have taken the food, but usually that doesn't happen where I live. So I just wasn't too worried about it. So I was talking to my sister. So about, I would say, almost 10 minutes later, I was like, oh, shoot, the food is outside. Let me go get it. So I go to my door and I open it to get the food, and I see the Uber Eats delivery guy just standing there, and I was like kind of shocked at first, and I was like, oh my gosh. He was like, no, I just was waiting out here. I just wanted to make sure that you got your food because I've delivered food in, other places, and I've gotten notified that they didn't see the food because somebody took it, etc. So I just wanted to make sure that you got your food. So I just looked at him and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I saw that you delivered this a few minutes ago, and I was just, in my house. I wasn't coming out. So you've been standing here the whole time." And he was like, "Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you got your food. Well, I hope that you have a wonderful evening. Stay blessed." And I don't know why that just warmed my heart so much, because if that was me, yeah, maybe I wanted you to get your food, but after a minute of you not coming out, maybe 2 minutes tops, I would have left. I'd be like, you know what? I try to wait to make sure she got it, but she's not coming out. Like, I'm gonna go. I have other deliveries. I have other things to do. But I'm telling you, I was in the house for more than 2 minutes, like maybe 5 minutes at least after the delivery before walking out to get my food, and he was just standing there in the hallway, like he was like on his phone just waiting for me to come get it. I don't know if he would have stayed there for an hour, but again, I feel like that's a pretty long time to stay just to make sure that somebody gets their food. And I'm sure he probably wouldn't have knocked again. He already knocked when he first dropped it, and I didn't go get it. But long story short, that was so thoughtful and so kind and so nice. I think I was obviously taking for granted that usually people don't steal the food, that they leave for me whenever I order food. But I don't know, it just really touched me. Like, even talking about it now, my heart is like, oh my god, it's just so warm. And I go back into the house and I tell my sister, I'm like, hey, the Uber driver was there the whole time. Like, he was just waiting for us to come pick out the food. And she's like, oh my god, are you serious? I was like, yeah. um so it was just a wonderful moment for me. So another moment that I had with a stranger that was pretty amazing occurred one of the times that I went to Target. So I think this was in May, and I went to Target because I was traveling and I just wanted to pick up a few items. And so I'm rushing to Target, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna be in and out. But we all know that when we go to Target, we are not in and out. Target takes a lot of your money and a lot of your time. So, anyways, I'm in Target, and there's this particular aisle where I was looking. I think I was looking for a sweater or a top. I think I was traveling for work. I don't remember what it was, but it was like a clothing aisle. So this woman was also there, and she was looking around, but she kept looking at me. You can tell when people are like sneaking looks at you. And I just thought, I was like, why is this woman looking at me? Like, am I crazy? Is it in my head? And then I thought to myself, I was like, oh my God, I'm wearing like a red maroon type shirt. And we know at Target they wear red, like the workers wear red. And I was like, oh my God, maybe she thinks I'm working here, but I have sweatpants on and I'm clearly shopping. So I don't think she would think I was working here. But she kept looking at me, whatever. I eventually end up going to a different aisle to do some other to pick up some other items. And after 10 minutes, we find ourselves back in a separate aisle, different from the aisle that we initially saw each other. And she just keeps looking at me, and eventually she starts making comments like, "Oh wow, like they don't have this, they don't have that." Like she wasn't talking to herself. She was obviously like making comments to me. So I was like, "Oh, this is kind of weird." She was older, maybe like in her 40s, 50s, not too old. But I was just like, I why does she it looks like she wants to talk to me. So anyways, I just keep doing my thing, and eventually she comes over and she's like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you?" And we start talking, and at first I was like, "Oh, maybe she's going to try to, I don't know, make me do something." Yeah, you know how sometimes you meet people randomly and they're like, "Oh, here's my card, and um I want you to enroll in this class," like something just like out of the blue that you're like, I really don't want to do that. So I thought it was going to be like some sort of like pitch or something I was going to receive. So obviously I'm being nice, and I'm talking to her. And as we just keep talking, she's just like, "Oh, like how old are you? Like, you know, um, have you started working?" And all of these different things. So in my head, I'm thinking like, "Oh, is she gonna try to pitch me a job, or like what's happening?" I was curious. So as we keep talking about, where I went to school and what I'm doing for work, she goes, "Well, I just want to say that, you're super young right now." She thought at first she came up to talk to me because she thought I was like straight out of college or something. So that's why I think she was asking how old I was, or and if I started working. Long story short, she was just like, "I wanted to tell you that you should never give up on your dreams. Anything that you want to do, go for it. Don't be scared to go for what you want, even if people don't understand you. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to make connections. Don't be afraid to make new friends. And don't be afraid to step into leadership should you need to step into leadership." And I'm thinking to my head, like, where is this coming from? But it was also so nice, right? And she's like, "Here, I have 10 books that I recommend to all young people who are trying to figure out their life and their career and who they want to be as people. And these books just give them tools on how to be a good leader, how to make the right connections, and how to just kind of be steadfast in the things that they're looking for." So she was like, "Oh, do you mind if I get your number? Can I text you the books?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I give her my number. She texts me the books. And these are some of the books, some of these books that she recommended. I've heard about them before in the past. And she was just like, "Yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you. I hope that you have a wonderful day. You have a bright future ahead of you. And I just wanted to give you some words of encouragement and good luck on your travels, good luck on your work trip, and the sky's your limit." And I was like, "What?" Like, it was so random. I felt bad because I was like, "Oh my God, I just thought she was trying to maybe sell me something." Because I'm like, why does she keep looking at me? And she just like, after having the conversation with her, I felt so warm. It just gave me an extra pep in my step. Like, oh my God, I'm ready to go on my work trip. I'm ready to kick some butt. And it just made me kind of reflect on the dreams and the goals that I have for my life, and just think like, wow, this was an angel. I feel like God was speaking through this woman because she doesn't know me from anywhere at all. She just saw me, wanted to talk to me, and wanted to share that with me. And the books that she shared with me. And after she texted me the books, when I got back to my car, because I think she had left, I texted her. I was like, "Thank you so much for your book recommendations, and thank you for, speaking those words to me." And she was like, "You're so welcome. I hope you have a wonderful trip." I haven't heard from her since then. Like, even though she has my number, I have her number obviously, but I haven't heard from her since then. We haven't texted or anything. but it was so random and it was so pure and it was just so kind. And I don't know if she's ever going to see this, but that was one of the best moments that I've had this year with a stranger. All right. So another moment where a stranger just swooped in and saved the day was when my car battery died. So I remember that I was driving into my apartment, and you have to get through this gate to enter into the apartment. And I stopped my car to use the fob on my key to open the gate. I opened the gate, start my car back up, and my car battery had died. My car would not start. Of course, I'm panicking because people are behind me trying to get into the apartment, and people are coming out of the garage from the other side of the gate. So I'm obviously causing an obstruction, and it's so dangerous where my car stopped because again, like I'm causing traffic and I could potentially cause an accident, right? Because people are now going to have to use the gate that people use to come out to get in, but people are also coming out of that gate. And it was a Saturday, right? So people are out and about. So I was just like, "Oh my god." So I'm starting the car, I'm starting the car, it's still not moving. So eventually I started and I'm able to get it to move past the gate, but my car moves past the gate, but it's still um obstructing the way because it stops right before the gate opens, right? So I'm still people still can't get through the gate. So I'm panicking. People are driving past me. People are looking at me like I'm so weird. Like everybody's like looking at me with red in their eyes as they're trying to navigate going in and out of one gate. And I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I don't know what to do. So I call AAA, and AAA is like, yeah, we can't get anybody to you for the next 2 3 hours. So I'm like, my car cannot be here for 2 to 3 hours, like it's just impossible. So of course I'm freaking out, like, oh, what should I do, who should I call? And as this guy like drives into the garage and he stops. He's the first person out of 10 cars that finally stops, and he's like, "Hey, like what's wrong?" I was like, "Oh, my car battery died and I'm kind of stuck here. I can't turn my car on." So he's like, "You know what? Give me a second." So he parks and he comes back and he's like, "Put the car," I don't remember exactly. He's like, "Put the car in neutral." And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I'm going to push the car. You stay in the car. I'm going to push you into a parking spot. Luckily, there was a parking spot wide open right in front of my car. Um, so I was like, oh my God, you're going to push the car by yourself? Like, do you need help? He's like, nope, just put it in neutral. I will push the car forward. So it was about 20 feet. So he pushed the car about 20 feet. I mean, it's a car, it's pretty heavy. I could hear him huffing and puffing. And eventually, we were able to fit my car into a parking spot while I waited for AAA to come and change my battery. And I could not thank that guy enough because it was a very stressful moment and nobody else had stopped. Everybody was just looking at me like I was crazy and I didn't know what I was doing. Obviously, I was having issues with my car and I couldn't move it, but I guess to people, it just looked like I was just being weird. So, because of him, I was able to get out of the way and things were able to go back to normal in the garage. And I was able to go back into my apartment and wait for AAA to come. I thanked him so much and he was like, "No, it's okay. Like obviously you were in need of help and I'm glad that I could help you." And I was like, "Oh, like what an angel. What a guardian angel." So that's one of the moments that I'm beyond thankful for. All of that happened within the span of like 15 to 20 minutes, but those were the longest 15 to 20 minutes of my life because I feel like the time I pulled up to my apartment was the time that everybody was getting ready to leave or come back into the apartment. So it was a lot, and I'm so thankful that that guy came and swooped in to help me without me having to ask, cuz I was too scared to ask all the other people that were coming in because they just obviously didn't care. They just gave me like a dirty look and just kept pushing. But obviously this guy took the time to ask me what was wrong and help me out in the situation. So it was just so amazing. I could go on and on. I have a lot of stories with strangers this year that I've paid attention to, right? Because I'm sure in past years I've come across amazing strangers, but again, it's something that I would think about or relish in the moment and just keep pushing. I wouldn't commit it to memory. And I wouldn't commit that feeling to memory, but I've been so intentional this year about looking at pockets of kindness, pockets of love in people that I don't know, and just being able to receive it, um and stick with it and be grateful for it, because again, it allows me to pay it forward. So there's, like I said, there's so many moments, and I can go on and on with different stories about conversations that I've had with my Uber drivers, and other random acts of kindness that I've received throughout the year, but we're not going to sit here for an hour or two to talk about those. So I just wanted to share some of the ones that really stuck out to me that I just think about, and I just feel so much love and peace. There's a lot of magic and profoundness in the little things. And I think the more we focus on the little things in life, the less scary and big the world seems. All right, guys, that is it for today's episode. Again, I hope that you enjoyed it. Remember to think about the little moments that you come across, strangers where you guys share a loving conversation, a loving interaction, a loving smile, whatever you want to call it, and just think about how profound those moments were, reflect on them, and pay it forward if you can. Till next time, peace and love always, always, always.